Brim, brim, brim. Love me some lo-fis to sort of bring up the, how can you say it, the overall health. Welcome to a new week of comics with me, your friend Carlz, here doing this high octane, energizing show to practice my English and talk about my love for the medium of comics, right? Another week having terrible migraines, but comics don't stop. Even if I'm like bleeding out of my ears, I will still read comics because they're the best. Um, Not much news in the front of the comic world. I mean, at least not news that interest me. It's been full with like I don't know, like, oh, this guy's leaving this book and this guy's leaving this other book. I think the writer for Phoenix, she's leaving, but like she still loves the book, or the book is doing all right, but she's still leaving. Whatever. Sometimes I just choose to ignore that noise and just stick to the books, right? I remember when the Age of Krakoa ended. Oh, people talking about a lot of shit about it, and a lot of shit about how it ended. But hey, I think it's all just noise. Either the stories are good or they're bad. That's it. And you as a consumer just gotta roll with it, right? I mean, it's comics. It's a never-ending cycle. But anyways, this week there's a couple of interesting ones, at least for me. Like some a little bit revealing. Has been a long time coming. So let's dive right into them, right? So the first one of these long time coming, whatever, I think I might have talked about Ghost Spider or Spider Gwen, however you wanna call her, in a previous episode. Especially because before this new relaunch as the all new Spider Gwen, um, I felt about everything that the character was just bouncing around. The If people have not been following the story, she was brought into 616, that being the main Marvel Earth, right? And they brought her because she has some issues on her original Earth, whatever. But then they threw her into this TVA nonsense, the Time Variance Alliance that they brought from the shows, right? And I don't know. I felt like the character wasn't really sort of taking her place. Like, I didn't really like that she was this sort of glue in between the whole multiversal nonsense that gets a little bit repetitive. So I'm really looking forward to the all new Spider-Man. Hopefully coming back to having the book being focused on her, right? So after the events of the previous volume with the whole TVA nonsense, basically they brought her here for good. Like the most important thing, they brought her like with the family, with her dad and everything, like blah blah blah. So she's here to stay, which is of course nice. Of course, it necessarily needs to have some repercussions. I mean, she's been a really important spider people or spider person in the last 5 years. Not only because of the popularity of the character with the Spider-Verse movies and everything. Like, she's been quite an important character, but the fact that she was half of this Earth and half of the other Earth kind of like always diluted a little bit her importance. So now I hope they bring her back to not only being a character on herself, but like having a more important role. Like, she's never gonna be Peter, right? But like right now we have like the all new, no, it's not called all new, but the current volume of Gwenpool, which I recommended last week, I believe. So they have a lot of when mania, you call it, how you want to call it. So there's a lot of things going on, but the fact that she's in her new solo series, I think is pretty good. And writer Stephanie Phillips, have I mentioned her before? Um, I don't know. I don't think I'm like 100% familiar with her. She's like a permanent name between like the big two, being Marvel and DC. But like the thing that I read the most about her recently is Grimm. It's a creator-owned book for Boom Studios, right? Where the half god, half human daughter of death is dealing with being the half half daughter, half human, half god daughter of Earth, right? Of Earth. Did I say Earth? Death. So I don't know. I think overall, what I'm looking for the most about this, as I said, is to have a more sort of permanent Spider-Gwen. I think Stephanie has written her before all as well, so uh, I don't think it's gonna be that risky. But I don't know. At least I hope her costume lasts a little bit more than Miles. Miles is the one for Miles Morales, right? They changed his costume like a while ago when they did that kind of like hip hop style. It was really like Gwen's with like a hoodie and everything. Like, and it lasted like what? Like a month or something? It was rather absurd. But, I mean, it is what it is. So, the all new Spider Gwen, Ghost Spider, they should just rebrand it Ghost Spider and be done with it, right? I don't know. It has always bothered me how they try to have the name Ghost Spider kind of like catch up, but like everybody just call her Spider Gwen. It's just a funny stuff. But anyway, all new Spider Gwen. Well, if you are into not only Spider Gwen but the Spider people in general, be sure that when it's gonna keep being important. So this new solo series being dropped straight into 616, it's one to look out for. All new Spider-Man number 1. Next. So speaking of number ones, there's a new Black Cat series coming out, and I gotta be honest, I didn't know about it, and when I knew it, like my eyes just like opened up. Like, I'm not only a big fan of Black Cat in general, but I feel like out of all the characters related to Spider-Man, Black Cat or Felicia Hardy has been one that has like let's say the past 5 or 6 years, she has had the sort of, I don't know, the most eventful sort of like past 5 6 years, from being like a true villain of to going on and off with Peter once again, but with reasons, right? They have developed this really sort of like codependent emotional friendship, which is really good. She came out as bisexual. She has had a really, really, really eventful past decade, we can say, right? And it has been really fun. And knowing that she's coming with a new solo book, it's really exciting. I feel like they allow like writers to really express themselves with Black Cat, and of course they brought, as the promo says, the superstar Gwendolyn Willow Wilson, right, or G Willow Wilson, of to me Poison Ivy and Miss Marvel fame, right? I recommended the Poison Ivy book from her from a while ago, and it sort of like links to what I expect her to do with Black Cat, right? Because Poison Ivy is also a villain, but she brought this sort of like commonality to in the last Poison Ivy book. Like, how do you bring a villain to not being necessarily a good guy, but like maybe neutral or like a more relatable character? You do that, right? Like, you sort of like put them in the precise and exact situations where they can sort of like traverse this middle ground. And of course, the biggest, or to me, one of the biggest draws of Miss Marvel in general was the revival of this sort of superhero with a heart, right? In case of Miss Marvel, she wasn't really weighted down by any historical sort of like weight, weighted down by weight. So she was kind of like free to be this really value oriented character, right? So it felt fresh, like a an unburdened Spider-Man or something, right? If you can say it like that. So it felt like that, like really free, really open. But when Willow jumped into Poison Ivy, right? The character was weighted, or it had a lot of like background, especially the last years with Harley Quinn and whatever, right? The series, like it has been a really contented character that has already moved from the full villain. She hasn't been like a full hero, but she's in between. So Willow Wilson is perfect to take this moment of Black Cat, where she get like it's been a couple of years though, but like when she stopped being like a full villain, when she was trying to kill Peter, now it's right in the sweet spot. And between her and Gleb Melnikov, who is the artist, I think they can do great things. I was hoping for a costume redesign. I love Black Cat's original costume. It's one that has lasted the longest, right? But I still remember like Chris Bacallos, I think it was, or like who was Humberto Ramos. I think he did the one with the eyes. Yeah, there's always chance for that. But yeah, pretty exciting stuff for Black Cat. A character which I love, the perfect author in the perfect moment in time of the character itself or herself to do something really fun. Like as I said, for some reason, this one totally skipped my radar. I had no idea that a new Black Cat was coming out, so I'm pretty excited about it. Black Cat number one, get it. Next, keeping up with the cat with the cat theme. I like cats, right? And I won't say that I don't like Catwoman in general, but Black Cat and Catwoman have been one of my favorite characters in both companies, both Marvel and DC, right? Catwoman was a little bit more, like she was my main in Injustice and whatnot, right? I have some of her early comic books too from the New 52 era. That's when my real like love for the character began, and when they sort of brought her like straight up to be really linked to Batman. And this is another character that, being a follower for so long, it's been sort of strange seeing her trip in general, or like her evolution, if you could call it like that, right? So in the current volume for Catwoman, um, I forgot this loaf I had vocals in this part. But in the current volume for Catwoman, they brought her like into this trip throughout Europe, and sort of like brought a lot of the whole, how can you say it, like a mafia type of plot lines. You could call it like that, like mafia. Um, I don't know. I don't know. It's been weird because the way they did to sort of like soft reset the character is to brought her back to this sort of heist thief type of like setting, right? I liked it because they brought her out to Europe, and like I like this street sort of knowledge, like where she knows everyone, and like she has this really, how can you say, like confident, and I like this from like John Constantine too, like these sort of like more shady air characters when they have like really deep pasts, right? Because they were on the streets and they have been through a lot. So I like when these characters have like these really deep, rich backgrounds. So when this volume began, I was like mildly interested. Like she had this relationship with this guy, and like she knew these other people. And the volume is, or the story arc is kind of like coming to a close finally. And looking back, this is like sort of like almost like a tradition I'm doing now, which I do like sort of like not a non-recommendation and not an anti-recommendation, but like sort of like a recommendation, because I really love Catwoman. I'm gonna keep reading Catwoman, but I feel like I don't know, and I think the editors think this too. How do we keep her relevant without tying her up necessarily to Batman? That is sort of like the biggest question it has. And to me, it doesn't. She doesn't need to be related or like not related, but like have a relation with Batman to be relevant. But when they bring her like to have relations with the rest of the rogues from Gotham City, right? That's also fun. Like she's supposed to be really close with the Riddler, the Penguin, right? Even the Joker. And I like when they do villain only stories for the Batman characters, because the Batman villains are sort of like the best in the DC universe in general, right? But anyways, this storyline in Catwoman is coming to a close with mixed feelings for me, mm, but I still recommended it because it's Catwoman, and I think at least the heist element has been fun enough. But yeah, this is my recommendation of the week. I guess the best thing about it is that, and I don't mean this in a mean way, even though it might sound like it. Maybe the best thing is that it's ending. Like something new and fresh can come out of it. But yeah, Catwoman. This is issue 78, I think. Mm, It's been okay. A little bit weird, underwhelming, but still, it can be the recommendation of the week. Next. So, this is one of, like, especially an author that I've talked about more than once because he's one of my favorite authors of all time. And of course, I'm talking about Rick Remender, right? Uh, what Deadly Class, I talk about Deadly Class, Black Science, what else, Seven to Eternity, Tokyo Ghost, and the list goes on and on and on and on. He has the what is the other one he has with Image right now? I haven't written it down somewhere. The Seasons, like, this is one of my favorite authors, and one of the things I like the most about him, like ever, is that, and I mentioned this and I'm pretty sure I talked about Black Science before, um, is the fact that I feel like all of his stories are like tricks. And when I mean tricks, I mean this in a good way, right? They are tricks because they always show through like either it's action, fantasy, violence, or like plain old like nastiness, like he did it with the Scumbag. There's another comic creator owned. He always does this really like switch or like in poker, right? Like where they do the what is the last card? The turn or the river? I think it's the turn. Like at the end, it's always about a really human concept, be it family, be it like love. Family is his most common sort of like a leitmotiv. It's in Black Science, The Seasons, Sacrificers. It's not called the Sacrificers, the Sacrifiers, but this is all creator own Image Comics. Death or Glory. This is all of his comics, sort of like the Holy Roller. That one was with Andy Samberg was really good too. They all come back to this concept of family or some sort of like a human connection, which is just lovely. I'm a sucker for those stories. So he's coming out with this new book, Escape, with Daniel Acuna, where they do this thing that I feel like, especially Image has been releasing a lot of books with these anthropomorphized characters. So it's sort of like according to the synopsis, it's like a war tale, like people like a survivors escaping war in like a really World War II ish concept, but the protagonists are animals. So of course this is up for like discussion. Like he did something really similar in the Sacrificers. I should confirm if that is the name. Sacri Sacrificers. Yeah, a lot of like anthropomorphic characters, and of course you can take that whichever way you want. I mean, what else could they mean? I'm, I'm gonna leave that to the imagination, right? It can be whatever. It can mean whatever you want for it. But to me, it's Rick Remender, so it's gonna be full of heart, and it's probably going to be really intense. I think Remender in particular has never reached the heights he did in particularly Black Science and Deadly Class. I think they have never, or maybe he hasn't chosen to do like a really long story arcs like for Black Science. I keep going back to Black Science because to me, probably Black Science is his best work ever, even though I love Deadly Class. And I still cry when I think about the end of Deadly Class. But I think Black Science was his best work. The characters were more limited. The topic, even though it was fantasy and it was multiversal and everything, it was quite a big book. It was still like about family. Maybe I like Black Science so much because it was so like Fantastic Four like. And of course I talk about Fantastic Four more than once. And Black Science is like basically like an R-rated Fantastic Four. I can put it like that. So when I see Escape and I think about also these extreme sort of like settings full of like violence and emotions to the to the extreme, like I'm not that much of a fan of the word, but that's how it feels to me when I read a Rick Remender story. Like it takes you to, how you say, not to the extreme, but like the settings are so smart, and when they unravel, you get this emotional push, which is amazing. I think the Sacrificers has not ended yet, but it was also pointing out to be that sort of like Remender story. I think it was going for that too, right? But I don't know. The fact that these are animals and it has a more contained setting as war, it might be a little bit obvious for what I'm saying, right? Like basically this whole um, emotional ride he always takes you on his books. But it's still Remender, man. I'm always excited when a new Remender book comes out, and this is no exception. I might not be the number one fan of anthropomorphic sort of protagonist. I always feel like they are weird, you know. Like I have nothing against like I don't know like furries. Like I I I don't kink shame or like whatever or like I have no issue with it, okay? But like, it always confuses me when they choose to portray characters as animals because it means something. It can't just be random, right? As a person who loves animals, who well basically stop eating them because I love them, right? It always adds a layer of like emotion that is not necessarily wanted. You know what I mean? Like if they were humans, would it be the same? I don't know. But anyways, any Remender book is a good book in my book. So Escape by Remender and Acuna, new by Image Comics. Man, I bet it's gonna be good. Even if it's short, like Grommets. Then Grommets was good. Also by Rick Remender about skaters on the 80s, I think. Anyways, Escape. I'm looking forward to it. And last but not least, this is a, a strange one. Another one that I had no idea that was coming out. So, if anyone has not seen Event Horizon, the movie, right? I don't think this book is gonna be particularly attractive to them. Uh, The book coming by Christian Ward and Tristan Jones. I'm not too familiar with either of them. Um, it's the official prequel for the movie Event Horizon, starring Sam Neill, right? Who else was in that movie? Was it like Lawrence Fishburne or something? But anyways, for people who don't know, Event Horizon is this movie, this sci-fi horror movie, where they have this spaceship, right? That goes. I think the experiment was to go faster than light or something, and they end up like activating this portal to basically hell. And the movie starts getting consumed by, I don't know, like um, hallucinations and like poltergeist type of things. It's a really cool horror movie, and I think it holds pretty well today, right? Like the horror, the visuals, the demons, the kills, the ship itself was pretty well designed. But having that in mind, um, I don't think I ever care for for a prequel. So this is not like another type of recommendation for the week. I'm genuinely curious what is going to be the prequel, because the movie is this type of horror movie which is perfectly self-contained, you know. For those who have played like Dead Space 1, it has that vibe to it. It's just this one ship lost in space, right? Or like sort of like stranded in space where crazy shit starts happening. Like Dead Space, then you can put Heaven Horizon, you can put Sunshine. I think it's Danny Boyle's. Yeah, Danny Boyle's. The movie Sunshine, also of like 2001. All of these stories of crazy things happening in this limited and contained space of a spaceship, they're always interesting to me. The setting itself, like the oppression and sort of like the paranoia of being stranded in space. Event Horizon takes that a little bit into the mystical side, introducing the whole demon and like, I don't know, like that crazy imagery of like demons possession, like that other games don't necessarily have it. I mean, not games, movies also. Like I don't know, Dead Space goes for the gore and the monsters. Like this one goes for the demons, and it gets a little bit psychological, maybe a little bit crazy. Yeah, they do go for it. And the one thing that might make me not that excited about the comic book is that the movie had a lot of visuals on it, and these horror visuals sometimes they don't translate that good to comics. I'm not a hater, but like sometimes these horror visuals are way better in live action. Might sound a little bit childish, but like you gotta see like the gore and the violence, right? It just hits harder. But regardless, Event Horizon is a great movie, a classic for horror fans, and I don't know. Let's see what they come up as a prequel, right? Can't be that bad. And IDW, well, not only IDW but Marvel as well. They have been playing a lot with all horror IPs. Marvel with all the ones by 20th Century Fox, right? Like Alien, Predator, right? I think Dynamite has come up with like some Terminator books. Now IDW is gonna release this Event Horizon, and all of them has had something interesting about it. One day I might talk further about the Terminator series, but they sort of like tapped into like, you can call them essential, but like interesting moments in the Terminator timeline to highlight sort of like arguments or like ideas of the Terminator canon in like self-contained stories, if that makes any sense. Like it's like I have this beginning and end of the Terminator timeline, so I pick certain moments of it to write a story and sort of like highlight, I don't know, topics like AI or Skynet's responsibility or Skynet motives, right? Or like human resistant motives, etc., etc. That is to say that going back to these old IPs in the comic medium, it's it's good because it's more agile. You don't need to wait for them to come out with like a movie or a series and like $100 million stuff to have like fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger CGI done. No, no, you can like quickly and in a smart way create stories about these old IPs and like have them being fun. So Event Horizon is one of those IPs, I guess, and it's getting the comic book treatment in a prequel form brought to you by IDW Comics. Well, why not? Could be good, could be bad, but worst case scenario, you don't have to waste 3 hours of your life watching, I don't know, an Arnold Schwarzenegger CGI battling Batman. Was that was that movie Terminator Genesis? Genocide? I don't know. Whatever. But anyway, Event Horizon Dark Descent sounds interesting, and I'll try to check it out. If you can, try as well. And that's basically my week for comic books. As I said, a lot of cats, a lot of cats, a lot of firsts, and a lot of ongoing characters, especially from Marvel and DC. Um, I don't know. I'm still behind as usual. So, but I've been keeping up with all of my recommendations, and as always, I might do an episode just to catch up. Particularly like Daredevil. One day in Hell was finished last week. Might have something to say about it. I haven't like returned to all new Venom, which is still making news. I don't know. People are so addicted to hearing all new Venom news. Like if it was the biggest shit, right? And I don't know. I've had fun with it, but man, what can I say? Mary Jane breaking up with the guy that basically everybody hated. That is such an obvious move. It's not like a writer move. It's an editorial move. Of course, Mary Jane is not gonna be with some random Paul guy. Whatever, man. But anyways, that's my time. That's my week. I hope everybody's reading their comics if they can. Supporting any way you can. I wish I could support more, like way more than I actually get to do. But anyways, comic books are fun. I hope you're reading them because if you aren't, I might read them for you. So, see you all next week. Have a good read. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.